Welcome, everybody. We are here watching some NRG Series MTGO Invitational. I'm Brad Brown here with Joe Lossett. We've got another match for you guys today. We're going to be watching John Ryan Hamilton on Eldrazi Tron versus TJ Rogers on Red White Burn. TJ Rogers is a member of the Ponder podcast, sponsored by the NRG Series or Nerd Rage Gaming, and we're excited to have him in this tournament. Joe, this is a very interesting matchup, Eldrazi Tron and Red White Burn. What's kind of your ideas going into this match that you're expecting?
Well, I think I would have to give the edge to Eldrazi Tron. They're going to develop a little bit slower, but they have some really great cards against Burn. Chalice of the Void and Thought Seer are both, I think, kind of the keys to the matchup. Mana Reshaper is nice at, basically trading at advantage early on, but Chalice of the Void can, especially early, can really mess up Burn's development. And then Thought Seer is just a large creature that no single card can deal with on its own. Plus, it rips a card out of the hand and blocks basically everything. So, if John Ryan is able to just develop Chalice into Thought Seer with really anything else along the way, I expect him to come out ahead. But he does have a lot of kind of clunky cards that aren't going to provide any help whatsoever. So, if he draws the wrong half of the deck, he could definitely end up behind.
Yeah, especially in game one, he's got these two Dismembers, which he might not ever be able to cast. He's got this All Is Dust, which could be good if he can, go Temple, Land or something like that, or just get Tron on 3 and maybe take out a bunch of 1-drops. He could be dead by then. We've got these two Ugins and two Endbringers, which are also very high up on the curve. And I think really it's just going to come down to play draw for game one at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly possible. The Burn definitely would like to be going first, as we have kind of the 1-drop haste creatures and then Eidolon the Great Revel, which very much benefits from being, this is not the ideal matchup for it, but he would like to have it on turn 2 on the play, but on the draw probably you'd rather not draw it at all.
Burn getting some pretty good upgrades recently in the Sunbaked Canyons on the lands. I mean, just having some type of card advantage or at least card draw in your deck is definitely useful. Something I want to know here is 4 copies of Searing Blaze. That's quite a few.
Yeah, definitely, and that's, it's helpful because we're playing against a creature deck here, but unlike a lot of cases where there's so many 4 and 5 toughness bodies that Searing Blaze, again, it's nice. At least we're able to spend a card that helps shoot a creature and also does damage to the face, but it is the fact that no spell in this deck can take down Thought Seer or Reality Smasher on its own feels like a big issue.
Yeah, definitely agree here. I really think that the inclusion of the 4 Searing Blaze is an interesting meta choice. We'll see if it works out for him in this matchup. And also, he's cutting one of his 8 fetch lands, so he might have a little problem triggering landfall some number of the times.
That's a good point. Yeah, a Searing Blaze without landfall is going to be less than worthless here.
So we're going to hop down into the match, or I guess not hop down anymore since we're doing this online, but we're going to jump into the match here on Magic Online. This is an interface that I know, Joe, you have a lot of experience with, and I used to stream on Magic Online as well. How has it changed recently?
Well, I'll tell you what I like about, or at least what it changes from a coverage perspective compared to what we're used to with the live matches, is we have, as viewers can see now, we have the forced perspective from one player. So for this match, we're going to be looking over the shoulders of the Burn player. And so really, it's going to change the scope of what we're able to talk about and also what we're able to, as a viewer, what you kind of put yourself in the place of the Burn player and decide, I have full information the same as this player does. How do I want to respond to situations? What do I want to do? And I like the fact that it's different. I don't know if it's better or worse, but I like it as a change-up, as we get to see exactly what, in this case, the Burn player is thinking and going through as they play the game.
Right. Now, to give you guys at home some perspective, so we are going to be watching TJ Rogers. He will be Red Baron MTG. And again, his opponent, John Ryan Hamilton, the Eldrazi player, will be XJ Cloud, I think that's what it says there. So we saw a map on 1, but not Tron piece on 2, and we see a temple with no play. So what do you think John Ryan's hand is looking like?
Well, I mean, I have to imagine that we're going to be fetching out another temple then, since we don't have the second Tron piece, and then if he's going to have a reasonable shot in this game, we're going to be looking for Thought Knot Seer or Reality Smasher to come down on turn 3, which is, I mean, he's going to eat a little damage along the way, but really that's not too bad. I do like TJ here with Chalice of the Void being a threat in this matchup, although probably not in the opening hand based on the way that the game's developing. Using up your 1-mana spells early instead of playing the Eidolon seems completely reasonable, as he's playing Swift Spear and Lava Spike here instead of playing a 2-drop.
I mean, we kind of talk about this Eldrazi Tron deck having a large mana curve, so this Eidolon could come down and never deal any points of damage as well.
Right.
Other than to himself, most likely. My guess would be it will be a chump blocker at some point in this game if it goes that long.
Yeah, and that's... I mean, it's tough because it's hard to... Like, Reality Smasher, you can't even effectively chump block. But it's... maybe it can squeeze in some damage. It'll probably... Well, it actually may not even come down next turn. If TJ is able to draw a 3rd land, we might just see him deploy both burn spells. And...
Oh, wow.
Okay,
this is a very timely Dismember here.
It is. It actually costs more life than the Swift Spear is going to deal this turn, but assuming the game doesn't end immediately, John Ryan will save life points overall from casting it.
Now, he didn't get to use the map, which is a little relevant because he wasn't able to fetch up another Temple, but we did know about the Thought Knot Seer that we saw off the Goblin Guide, so that's going to come down and likely take... I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Searing Blaze is the only kind of 2-for-1 spell, but with John Ryan already being at 9, might want to take one of these 3-point burn spells.
Yeah, I actually think taking the Lightning Bolt makes sense because it's the only way that, like, if TJ draws a land next turn, if the bolt's in hand, then 2 spells can be cast regardless of which ones they are. But by taking the Lightning Bolt, we really limit TJ's ability to... There's almost no chance to be able to double spell this turn.
Right. So now he has to make a decision. The Eidolon would allow him to double block. Again, I don't know if that's winning him the game, but that is an option.
Yeah, that is possible, although I'm really not sure I even expect an attack. And if we were going with that theory, then playing the Eidolon also allows the same double block, but does use all our mana for the turn.
Right, it might just turn into a shock if TJ can maybe draw a land. He can go like Goblin Guide plus Blaze, and then attack. I guess you'd probably want to attack first, so you don't take unneeded damage.
One important aspect of the Eidolon, as Thought Knot Seer and more expensive spells won't trigger it, but it does prevent a Chalice on 1 from coming down, at least for free.
Sure. Let's see if John Ryan has any additional plays this turn.
It's interesting to me that we have initials for one player, TJ, and yet the other player has a double name, and we're saying John Ryan. It could be TJ versus JR.
You know, we're trying to respect the player's wishes here, I think.
Yeah, I suppose that's, nice of us to do. Okay, so we see Rift Bolt is drawn. So again, we can play 2 spells this turn, sort of, as one will be an investment for the future. And it will...
So he knows his hand, though, right? So by suspending the Rift Bolt, if he attacks with anything here, he can just take the damage and then kind of threaten lethal on the backswing. I guess if the Eidolon would have to attack. So I don't think there's a safe attack there. I don't know if you agree.
This is... Let's see. So we could... Yeah, because we would have to have a block. We have to block something on the return fire. So you're right. We cannot attack all out, and so really TJ really doesn't have a choice there. He has to hang back and hope for... let's see. It's gonna be close.
A land's not gonna do it because he needs an additional 3 points of burn. But the Lightning Helix life gain might give him enough time.
Yeah, maybe. So we're looking at after the Rift Bolt and the Lightning Helix, TJ himself will end up at 9, which can absorb a swing from the 2 Thought Knot Seers. It just doesn't work. Can't do it this turn because the timing. Will kill him. Yeah, exactly. The Lightning Helix needs to resolve in order for TJ to effectively be at 9. Otherwise, he's at 7.
Right.
When it's on the stack. So he did pass, and we have, let's see, what are we going to see here from John Ryan? I think just sitting here, John Ryan, with more cards in hand, I like his side, but he can't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, especially at 9, it's pretty easy to count to 9 with a burn deck. You have 3 on the stack next turn already, plus another 3 in hand that you know about. There isn't really anything he can draw to deal 9 next turn, so he did get Blast Zone with the Expedition map. Could set up a case where he can put Blast Zone on 1, blow up both of these Goblin Guides, attack in. Next turn, after the Rift Bolt does 2, now he's forcing a block with the Eidolon.
Yeah, I like this a lot. This does force the block and really puts TJ in a spot where I'm not sure he can recover from this now.
Yeah, he has to block, and just so the viewers at home are aware, if he just goes to 2, the Rift Bolt's going to go on the stack and kill him. So this forces a block with the Eidolon.
Yeah, and you were right. This Eidolon is just purely chump blocking. So it actually, I don't know that John Ryan took any damage from it, but TJ ate a couple triggers and then just threw the card away without having a choice in the matter. I suppose there's an option here of killing one of the Thought-Knot Seers.
Now he gets to go to 9, takes him to 3, and gets, unless there can be a life gain, he gets a draw. He gets 2 draws at a 1-mana burn spell next turn.
Yeah,
potentially.
He does. I wonder if we would have held that Lightning Helix because John Ryan would have attacked with both Thought-Knot Seers for the win, and by holding the Lightning Helix, okay, well, that changes things. But just to finish the point, by holding the Lightning Helix, you encourage the attack so that in addition to the burn spells, also something like a Goblin Guide can actually get through. Yes. I suppose that wouldn't matter. I think Lethal Electro was going to be at 3, so never mind. It wouldn't necessarily have had an impact there, but still, casting the Lightning Helix main phase doesn't seem to be any real reason to do that. Regardless, the Reality Smasher comes down and ends the game.
Yeah, you're kind of showing your hand. It's like, my plan is to draw a 3-point burn spell, right?
Yeah.
And that's really all I can do. So if these are decks that you're interested in playing, you can head on over to nerdragegaming.com and pick up all your singles. I actually just bought a deck from Dakota from the website just a couple weeks ago. I picked up Bant Control. It's the first deck I've owned in quite a while, and I'm excited to play it once the quarantine is finished, which I don't know if that'll happen. So yeah, head on over to nerdragegaming.com, pick up all your singles. We also have a buy list, so if you're interested in selling us cards, we give additional store credit based on how much you've sold with us, and definitely appreciate your business in these trying times. So let's take a look at the players' sideboards here. So TJ Rogers on Red White Burn. This is his 15-card sideboard. He's got 2 Path to Exile, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Wear and Tear, a Grim Lavamancer, 4 Core Firewalker, and 4 Skullcrack. And we know, due to fancy time travel, that TJ is going to board in 4 Skullcrack and 2 Path to Exile. And he's going to board out 4 Searing Blazes and 2 of those Eidolons of the Great Revels. How do you feel about that board plan?
It seems okay to me. I feel like even though the Grim Lavamancer doesn't have maybe a lot of great targets, it is something that gets down on the board early, and there's not a ton of removal for it. So I could understand the argument for bringing it in. Also, the Wear and Tears give us a way to deal with Chalice of the Void. The fact that we're not doing that, it may be a play-draw decision, or maybe TJ just feels like it's not worth bothering with. I'm not sure. He may very well be right. But
yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of a race. Like you said, Chalice can come up, but if he doesn't play the Chalice, then you just have these like dead cards in your hand.
Right.
You might be able to snag a Mind Stone or something. I definitely agree about the Grim Lavamancer, though. Sometimes 2 points of damage is really important to take out Matter Reshapers so you can get in a good attack.
Yeah, it also allows your other spells to combine with the Lavamancer to pick off the larger creatures, the Thought-Knot Seer and the Reality Smasher. So I would be willing to listen to someone trying to convince me the Lavamancer should be in, but I'm not going to say it's a mistake to not bring it in. I don't know.
Right. Taking a look at John Ryan Hamilton's sideboard, we've got these 3 relics, 2 Spatial Contortion, a Tormund's Crypt, a Walking Ballista, Grapdigger's Cage, Liquid Metal Coating, Spyglass, Orb, Ensnaring Bridge, Torpor Orb, and Witchbane Orb, Sovereign, Console Flagship, and the Wormcoil Engine. A lot of this is going to be a wish package for Karn, as most of you know. But he's going to bring in these 2 Spatial Contortions and a Wormcoil Engine and take out 2 Dismember and 1 All Is Dust. Now, I would assume that the Wormcoil is coming in because he's just like hoping to hit Tron on 3 and then play it. And if he hits Tron on 3 and plays like Karn, he can't go get Wormcoil and then play it. It's going to take 2 turns, and that might just be a little too slow. It's probably not.
I agree that's the reasoning. I'm not sure that I'm on board with it, though. With the Wormcoil Engine being boarded in, I feel like the Karns become poor draws because that's really our primary target. I mean, we have a Witchbane Orb, sure, that's fine, but that's also the same scenario where if we play Karn and Wish, Witchbane Orb's coming down the next turn also, and right. If we're in that scenario, I'd rather have the Wormcoil coming down next turn than Witchbane Orb. So I wonder whether, he does have 3 cards that he really wants to take out, and I get that, but the Wormcoil staying in the board does make the Karns more powerful in the deck, and yeah, I don't know. Same as Grim Lawmancer, I'm willing to entertain the idea that the players' decisions are correct, but I'm not convinced at this point. We'll see how the game plays out. Maybe we'll see it come up.
Yeah, and it could be one of those situations where TJ and these red-white burn players usually have Path to Exile, and I think that's a very common card that comes in to try to deal with these bigger creatures. So he's bringing a card that's also weak to the sideboard plan that TJ has, whereas Witchbane Orb might be a little safer. Mm-hmm. So again, Eldrazi Tron picked up game 1, so TJ will be on the play here, and we can see he has one of those Path to Exiles in his opening hand. Now he might mulligan this. All right, looks like he is going to keep.
All right, I mean, he does have a 1-drop and a bunch of 1-mana spells, but this is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not wild about going down on cards against a deck with discard, and Thought Knot Seer is effectively discard, but this game could be over real quick if there's not another land waiting for TJ this next turn.
Yeah. Hitting a second land, though, is going to be huge. He's got a ton of damage he can pop out each turn. Oh, he hits right on time.
There we go. Wow, that's just perfect. So now he looks like a genius as his whole hand is unlocked, and really there's going to be a heavy amount of burst damage coming right now.
So we're going to do 6 this turn. Instead of the potential 9. And get that Boros Charm.
So, wow. I'm sorry to cut you off there. I am surprised by this, as we talked about in the last game. Expending your 1-mana spells before Chalice of the Void comes down, in a lot of ways, is desirable. And here we could have gone Lightning Bolt, Skewer the Critics, and gotten an extra pump on the Swift Spear and expended 2 of our 1-mana spells. That's not the way I would have gone. Doesn't mean he's wrong, but it's not the path I would have chosen.
And there's that Chalice that you're talking about, and this makes Skewer much more awkward as well, right? Because now he can't Skewer pre-combat. Well, thankfully he drew a 3rd land, so he actually can Boros Charm Skewer now. But had he not, he wouldn't be able to bolt and then Skewer to get that extra power trigger.
Right, yeah, this definitely... it was for... Yeah, if the 3rd land did not come, this would have looked worse. As it is, it looks fine. Or it will develop just fine, because the Skewer... the spectacle cost will... The Chalice does not see the spectacle cost. It sees the full mana cost of the card, so it still resolves. And, well, we have no more spells to play, but boy, are we close to having this game wrapped up.
Yep, he's now at 3. One beautiful thing about Chalice of the Void in terms of playing on Moto is you can't miss it. So there's not going to be a situation where TJ can try to force through a 3-point burn spell and hope that John Ryan misses that Chalice trigger.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, sounds like you don't have full confidence in John Ryan's ability to remember his Chalice trigger, which is fair, because even elite players miss these. Well, maybe not elite, but like step down from elite. Like a big step down from elite is probably somewhere about where I am as a player, and I certainly miss things like this on occasion, and so do in general my opponents. So yeah, that is a real change. You were talking about when you talked about differences from playing on Magic Online versus live events. I talked about the commentary perspective, but from the play perspective, you're right. Things like Chalice do get missed occasionally in real life and or Eidolon.
Yeah, and it gives you an opportunity as the player playing against the Chalice to basically check your opponent. Hey, is he going to remember these triggers, right? And you don't really get that opportunity here.
Right, absolutely. I remember my most memorable one several years ago playing against the Chalice. I was playing Reanimator in Legacy against the Chalice on 1, and I looked at my opponent and tried to size them up and see if they might forget. And I was like, okay, this player, they kind of sloppy. Maybe I can get this through. So I led with a Ponder with the Reanimate in my hand, which was the relevant spell. And they spaced on the Ponder, and it resolved. And then I played the Reanimate, and they remembered.
Yeah.
And I felt like a complete fool, because maybe if I led with Reanimate, I would have won.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've had that happen to me as well.
All right, so here we go. Eldrazi Tron at 3, but
this is getting close to lethal. Oh, there's a skull crack off the top. I was gonna say the one thing about Chalice and 1-mana spells is you can still cast them to get those prowess triggers.
Right. And you're right. We're close to that mattering, but this Skullcrack is just going to end it. So TJ evens the matchup with really just a very good start and some fortunate land draws, and that was enough to push it over.
Now, it looks like John Ryan is going to not make any changes, so he's going to leave that Worm Coil in. He will be on the play this time. But TJ, now that he sees Chalice is still in, he's going to board in those 2 Wear and Tears and take out those 2 Eidolons. Realizes that those Eidolons, even in that game just then, weren't looking to do much damage.
No, and this could be a case where he's more afraid of Chalice of the Void when he's going second. So maybe this is a reaction to what he saw, or it may just have been the original plan was to have them in just going second.
Yeah, it just depends on the player. I think a lot of times some people come very prepared with like sideboard notes and all their matchups. Other people go by feeling. And I feel like the players who go by feeling sometimes forget about their opponent's board plans or what's in their opponent's deck. And so you'll like, okay, these are the cards I want. And then you kind of forget, oh man, they're bringing in potentially this, and this. Or I got to worry about Chalice post board. Depending on... Because not all Eldrazi Tron players are playing the full 4 Chalices. Wow, that was a tongue twister.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and it also could be like you're saying, whether or not you have sideboard notes, you can still make mistakes on sideboarding. There's a great story I believe Ryan Overturf told about being basically dead on the board to something like a Core Firewalker, and then he drew a Dismember that he meant to sideboard out and missed, and it won in the game.
That's fantastic. So TJ is going to be on the draw. This looks like a pretty strong opening hand, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it if I'm in his spot. We can't deal with a lot of things, like a early Thought Seer or even an early Chalice is going to be an issue, but disregarding that, this is a powerful hand that's going to do a lot of damage very quickly, and I'm definitely on board with keeping it. Now,
something like a Spatial Contortion could really throw this hand out of whack for sure if he just leads on Swift Spear.
Yeah, that would be basically a disaster, but TJ's probably not thinking about that. He's thinking about how much damage we can actually get through here, and it looks like we can get in for potentially 9 and 9, which would be a great start.
Yeah.
But yes, his dreams will come crashing down very quickly if John Ryan has a effective 0-mana permanent to put on the board this turn.
Now, Matter Reshaper isn't the worst either. It will block 3 points of damage.
Yeah, I mean, just to
draw him a card.
The fact that let's see, what do you do here? Do you attack and just double bolt the face and then let the Matter Reshaper chump block, or do you kill the Matter Reshaper? It's kind of the same either way, isn't it?
It's 6 points either way, right? So
yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm more inclined to force him to block. But just to kind of see what the player would do in the situation. That's kind of my take on it. I like to try to read my opponent. I mean, it seems like an obvious block anyway.
It does. I agree, and I'm sure that there would be a block. But given if TJ got to choose, I'm sure he would choose for the Matter Reshaper to not block and just have the damage go through. So I think just attacking here is...
So the world in which... so the mistake for killing the Matter Reshaper is if he flips another Matter Reshaper.
Right. Yeah, that's actually so... You're right. That's so significant that I feel like the correct play has to be just double bolt and then attack. Double bolt the face and attack.
Yeah. Now, we did see Chalice of the Void. You can put it on the battlefield, or you can put it in your hand. So we're going to put it. John Ryan is going to put it into his hand. He's likely going to play that on a 1, which will turn off these lightning bolts. They'll turn into 1-point prowess triggers, essentially. We'll see if he wants to play that Chalice this turn, or if he'd rather get something maybe like a Thought-Knot Seer online.
That's interesting because, yeah, Chalice is obviously a super scary card, but given whatever the alternatives might be, TJ might prefer the Chalice. Interesting. This is not what I expected.
This leads me to believe he doesn't have a land.
Right.
And he wants to make a land drop for the turn. Which, that's a lot of tempo loss.
Yes. I mean, TJ, that whatever he was thinking might happen this turn, this has to be way better than he could have ever hoped for.
Now, we know this doesn't read Dismember, but as a player, I might think, okay, maybe he's got a Dismember here that I need to play around. Like, why else is he making this play other than maybe he didn't have a land?
Yeah, but even then, Dismember would be a 4-point burn spell.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
right.
This is, I don't know if John Ryan's going to recover from this turn.
And had he played Chalice, he would be taking 3 points less. He would have been at 10, but he wouldn't have had that land drop. Really curious what John's hand is.
So we have
okay, now we have Tron.
Okay, we're going to need something good, though. What do we have? Is it a Wormcoil Engine? It is Wormcoil Engine.
But that's not enough.
It is not. It would be, if not for the Skullcrack. And the Redundant... No. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I was thinking for a second there we have to do the Skullcrack first, but it's irrelevant because we're not actually attacking for the turn. And so,
right,
yeah, 2 burn spells, we'll finish it off.
And Wormcoil Engine just too slow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like we're playing Tron here. Like, Green Tron. I mean, turn 3 Wormcoil Engine, that's great. Turn 4 Wormcoil Engine, not as exciting, and isn't enough in this case to get it done.
So TJ Rogers is going to win his round over John Ryan and Hamilton, who will be playing Zoe Readerman on Mono Red Prowess once we get there. And that's going to be an interesting matchup. Both players are basically going to be trying to kill each other's creatures a lot. Eidolon is a great level on the play, is much better than on the draw. There's a lot of decision-making that goes on in those kinds of matchups.
Yeah, and Lightning Host doesn't play a big role as the life margin generated from just gaining 3, which is something that TJ would have, but Zoe would not. Might play a big role there.
And TJ has those four core Firewalkers on the board as well, and that's going to play a big role in that matchup as well.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So TJ, moving on. Burn, I think, is a fairly okay choice right now in terms of a meta deck if you're looking for something to meta game in Modern right now. You got to be a little careful on some matchups, but I think overall it's got some pretty good ones. So we want to thank KMC, one of our big sponsors this year. KMC, these Hypermats, they're the sleeves I've used for years and years and years. I actually have a box of sleeves downstairs. I keep all of my old sleeves that are run down, and I just use them as like drafting sleeves. I mean, years, like 6 years worth of sleeves, and they're all KMC Hypermats, and I absolutely love them. I always get black ones. I had a little white set for the longest time. But huge thanks to KMC. Yeah, absolutely.
KMC providing sleeves to the top 4 of our event, as well as being available at all Nerd Rage live events once we get back to back in the regular swing of things later this year.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. And stay connected with us at all of our social media /NRG Series. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. We're posting all of these videos on YouTube, and we'll have links to them on Twitter as well. And then follow us on Twitch. If you haven't already, it's going to be twitch.com or twitch.tv /NRG Series as well. And once we start doing more trials, we'll definitely be streaming those. Yeah, so follow along. We'll be posting more of these videos from throughout this tournament. And our next match is actually going to be Phil Silverman versus Adam Rashig. Really looking forward to watching that. That's going to be Bant Control versus Jund. And that matchup plays out really well. It should be an entertaining one to watch for sure. So for Joe and myself, I want to say thanks for watching, and we will see you guys tomorrow with another video.